Good evening and welcome to WANA Live, the reading series of the Writers Association of Northern Appalachia. I'm Damian Dressick, your host, and here's your other host,
Christina Fasonic. How are you tonight?
Well, I am in Slippery Rock, Pennsylvania, and it is dark and there's a chill in the air. I believe, rumor has it, this is the autumnal equinox. Is that correct, Christina?
No, it's past.
Oh, it is?
Yes, by a couple days.
I'm 2 days behind.
It's not just your computer, it's your head.
Well, they say Slippery Rock is, I forgot what they said about it because we're 2 days behind. At any rate, Christina, how is life in Wheeling where it's the present?
Well, I think I'm probably one of the only people in all of Northern Appalachia who feels this way about the fall. I don't like the fall because the fall portends the winter, and I don't like the winter either. Bring me sunny days and sunshine, and I'm happy. But hopefully, it'll be a showy fall like it was last year. Last fall,
I'm excited about it. I like the visual business of autumn.
I'd give it up for sunny days. But then maybe that's my seasonal affect disorder talking. I don't know. So who do we have tonight on the show?
We are very excited. I believe we have one of the hardest working people in Appalachia in terms of getting work out there. We've got Larry Thacker tonight, and he's going to be reading for us. He's a Kentuckian writer, artist, and educator. He's now hailing from Johnson City, Tennessee. His poetry has appeared in more than 170 publications. Stories have been nominated for the Pushcart and a Best of the Net. He's the author of Mountain Mysteries, the Mystic Traditions of Appalachia, the poetry collections Drifting in Awe, Grave Robber Confessional, Feasts of Evasion, and the forthcoming. It's still forthcoming. Gateless Menagerie. He has two poetry chapbooks, and he's got two short story collections. Working It Off in Labor County from WVU Press that came out earlier this year, and Labor Days, Labor Nights, More Stories, which is coming out from. It just came out from Bottom Dog Press. I knew that. He's a veteran of the U.S. Army, 7th generation, native in the Cumberland Gap area, holds an MFA from West Virginia Wesleyan University, and he's the occasional adjunct instructor. So let's get Larry out here to do some reading.
Hi, Larry. Good evening.
Hi there. Let's get Christina a sun lamp. Let's get that. Let's get her some vitamin D. Let's get her.
I have one upstairs, and I'm just getting ready to plug it in tomorrow morning. So if you ever watch the show again and I have a sunburn, it's because I turned my sun lamp up too high.
If people are listening at home, I would solicit contributions on Christina's behalf for a bus ticket to Key West.
I can do the show from there.
Let her go to the beach in the fall.
Yes. Yes. We should petition my university to allow me to go to the beach and teach from the ocean. Do you hear that, Kyle?
You will winter at the beach.
That would be very lovely. So what are you going to read for us tonight, Larry?
I'm going to read. Well, if for those familiar with this fictional little town and county in southeast Kentucky called Labor County and Labor Town, one of the themed families, the sort of the patriarch is Uncle Archie. So there are a number of Uncle Archie stories throughout these two collections. I'm going to read an Uncle Archie story.
Very cool.
And he's a world traveler. He is the owner and operator, family owner and operator of an auditorium, and not auditorium, but ODD auditorium. And it's a place where you can go to find weird stuff. And for anybody who knows me, they're probably saying, Larry, you're just writing your autobiography. Just go ahead and admit it. But there's, for every writer, there's a little bit of themselves in the writing, and there's a little bit of my DNA in the characterization of of Uncle Archie.
Are we one day going to see Larry's auditorium?
Well, if you follow me on social media, you know I work at an antique store, and a lot of my sections are curiosities. I have the huge clown collection.
Wow.
Creepy dolls. So I'm coming from, a base of knowledge when I write this stuff. All right.
Write what you know. Well, we'll see you in a few minutes.
All right.
This story will tell you everything you need to know about Uncle Archie and his family, so we're going to get this knocked out. This is called Uncle Archie's Number One. Here we go. So as much world traveling as Uncle Archie managed, you'd think he would have known better than to pound back an entire bowl of soft serve that quickly, soft serve ice cream. Anyone knows you've got to pace yourself, contest or no contest. Even as a kid, susceptible to crazy challenges, I knew better. I was particularly vulnerable to ice cream headaches, even from sipping a cold pop too fast. So I didn't head over to the soft serve machine with the others when Uncle Archie threw down the gauntlet for a contest. I didn't get away without some taunting, however. "Boy, you can't pass up free ice cream. Get in on this." And I reminded him it wasn't free, and that it was him who had invited the whole family out to Granny G's hometown buffet for brunch. "All you can eat feels like it's free after you eat a certain fill," he retorted. "You try hard enough and you can eat 2, maybe 3 meals in one sitting, boy." He was full of that kind of knowledge. I tried, but I couldn't successfully argue with that angle of logic. Nevertheless, I refused to participate in the ice cream eating contest. Uncle Archie had goaded Dad and Mom and 2 of Mom's distant cousins visiting from Tallahassee into this nonsense, so he was happy enough. The dessert bowls weren't big enough, so they were filling chili bowls with vanilla, chocolate, or a combination thereof when I excused myself to the restroom for a moment of quiet. Uncle Archie's moans and groans were audible almost everywhere in the restaurant. Everywhere but the restroom, I guess. I heard him as soon as I came out. There was a panicky crowd gathered up near our table, and I shouldered my way in, and there he was, on the floor, rolling around, holding his head with both hands, kicking his feet, bucking like a lame mule. He was muttering something in tongues. His eyes were rolled back in his head. The buffet manager thought he was having a seizure. The restaurant manager thought it resembled a heart attack. Our waitress was sure it was food poisoning. Uncle Archie's hands were trembling, alternating from his temples to his throat and chest, and he moaned some more and whispered out for the Lord's assistance, as if God might have been eating brunch at the same establishment by chance. And someone asked how long it took for an ambulance just to get across town, for God's sake. This man's obviously dying. "Is it the diabetes?" someone randomly asked, but authoritatively. I knew what was up. Dad knew, and Mom and the cousins knew. If anyone had bothered noticing the chili bowls of various quantities of soft serve distributed across our table, along with the completely empty one Uncle Archie must have won with, then dropped to the carpeted floor before joining it, they'd have deduced by now that the man probably was not dying. He only felt like it and was only in the midst of the first ice cream headache of the poor man's life. A retired dentist from town asked if he had a living will. The young college student rushing away from attending the cash register duties spoke up and said he'd learned the newest version of CPR. The cousins were giggling their butts off. Mom shushed them. Paramedics rolled a gurney in about the time Uncle Archie was gaining back some ability to take full breaths and string a few words together. We sat him up very slowly. He was no longer inquiring about the Lord's presence. He was done praying, I think. No more tongues. He blinked a few times. His eyes were bloodshot, like he'd had a hard morning of drinking. Soft serve was crusting in the 5 o'clock shadow around his lips. Good Lord, what the hell happened? He asked, shaking his head. The emergency responders were pumping up the blood pressure cuff. He glanced around at everyone hovering over him. He winced. Sir, do you know where you're at? How many fingers am I holding up? Do you know what day it is? Uncle Archie glanced up at me. I think he could tell I was amused by what had happened, but also concerned seeing him so vulnerable. Disneyland 11 and Ice Cream Appreciation Day, he said. The paramedics gave each other a look. They just didn't know who they were dealing with, did they? Las Vegas? Uncle Archie asked. He was feeling better. Those are awfully long toes you're holding up there, young man. Did I win? That's really all that matters. Uncle Archie shot the cousins a competitive glare. And of course, that the manager shuffled us out of there too fast to collect the $73 bill, not to mention the gratuity we had surely accumulated. I admit I was curious who had won the contest. I should never have gone to the restroom. Isn't that always the case? Mom elbowed me with that familiar force of shut up and flashed me 2 fingers so Uncle Archie couldn't see. After all the rigmarole, no one was going to be the bearer of bad news and tell him he'd come in second place. He rubbed his temples and chest. Dang, I sure didn't know that a body could rebel against itself in such a fashion. Fascinating. Terrifying. Good God Almighty. Dad wondered, how in the world can that be your first ice cream headache ever? I've savored my share of cold treats in the past. Never gorged them down like some hot dog eating contest. Whose idea was it to have a soft serve eating contest in the first place? That's just plain dumb and foolhardy, he said. No one said a word. Did I pass out? Not quite, but you were close to it. Can something like that kill a man? I doubt it, but it'll make you sure wish you were dead while it was happening. What was I doing the whole time? Did I say anything? You mostly just rolled around and moaned in pain. You might have been praying. And we had no idea what you were saying at one point, Arch, Dad told him. My tongue was numb. I remember that. 2 bowls of ice cream will do that, one of the cousins chimed in. Just like a dose of Novocaine, I tell you, Uncle Archie admitted. There was a dentist there, after all, Mom added. But he didn't mess with you any, I assured him. Uncle Archie hated dentists, not because of any fear of needles or painful sounding machines or even pain. He was afraid of expensive work you couldn't readily see. Anything you have to smile that hard to show off is too expensive and warrants suspicion, he warned. Uncle Archie got quiet. Yeah, but the light. He'd sort of said it to himself. That crazy light aggravated me to death. Who was shining that light in my face the whole time? You mean the paramedics checking your eyes, Mom asked. No, I remember that. Before that, for a long time, the light. He was sounding confused again, and Dad asked if he was feeling okay. No, I'm fine, Uncle Archie said, still distracted. It was so bright and glowing, bright and then dimming. Mom gave me a look. Like going through a tunnel, he said. Sounds like you maybe did black out for a bit there, brother, Dad offered. I don't remember it. You might not remember passing out, one of the cousins added. It was quiet for the rest of the drive home, except for the occasional thoughtful grunt from Uncle Archie, who was giving this experience a lot of thought. It's not quite the ending, but I'll tell you what happens very quickly.
All right.
He does some research and he's determined. He comes to the determination that he's had an out-of-body experience or a near-death experience because he saw eternal light. And he ends up another story later in the book. He goes and sees the local psychic Aunt Betty because he starts having visions. And so Uncle Archie, because of his near-death experience induced ice cream headache, he goes to the local psychic Aunt Betty. So that gives you an idea of what's up with Uncle Archie.
Well, I mean,
I think it gives me an idea of what's going on in Labor County.
With what?
I think it gives me an idea of what's going on in Labor County.
Oh, yeah, indeed.
well, I think my favorite line was when he says, "I didn't realize a body could rebel on itself like that."
Yeah.
I really appreciated that.
Well, this actually happened to my grandfather when Sonic first came. This is like the early 70s, and the little grain of truth to this story is we took my grandfather, my papa, to Sonic, and we got him a slushie. This is like when slushies were brand new, and he got him a cherry slushie or something, and he went.
Oh,
he
no.
put down about half of that thing. And then he commenced to pacing around the car, not knowing what was happening to him, because he never experienced an ice cream headache before. And then he went when he finally recovered from it, he said they should be illegal. So I had that seed in my head since I was a little boy. And it finally germinated into that story of Uncle Archie. So it took 40 years to turn into a story.
Well, I love that he is both larger than life and just like somebody in your own family. I think that combination of how do you do that? How do you write characters that are that combination of?
Well, we're all nuts. In our own way. So you just have to watch for the opportunities to notice it.
Yeah, I guess that's
true. We spend our time talking about people, don't we? Usually behind their backs. So you just have to take notes. Well, I told Damien earlier today, and this will end up a story. I spent the morning at the emergency room at the VA because I fell off a ladder, which in and of itself is not that big a deal. People fall off of ladders every day. But I had a quarter gallon of red paint in my hand, and when it hit, I walked out of the building. My glasses were covered. I had paint in my mouth. All this part of my body was covered with red paint. And then the bathroom that I went to start washing off is water based. It just started sort of liquefying, and it looked like a murder scene in the bathroom. So,
they're remaking
story
Johnson City.
Yeah, I thought I broke my hip. I went and had X-rays, so I spent half the day getting my hip X-rayed, thinking I broke my hip, and so
well, thankfully you didn't.
I did not, but
my mother had a similar experience when I was a little girl. We were painting our trailer colonial red, and I remember the color because it was god awful, and she fell off the ladder but fell onto the paint can.
Ow.
Yes, and she still yells at me, and I'm 47 years old, and she still tells me that it was my fault that she hurt her hip that day because I didn't move the paint can before she fell off the ladder.
Yes, exactly. That conversation, I can see that conversation in dialogue. That would be a great conversation, an argument. 20 years later,
20 years later, she's still yelling.
My hip. It's your fault.
I got the bursitis, and it's all your fault. It's true.
Yeah, that was great. Could you, hey, Larry, could you be able to hold up your because you got twin books. You're like a two-fisted writer at this moment. If you could hold those up, so we have got Working It Off in Labor County and Labor Days, Labor Nights. So one from WVU Press and one from Bottom Dog Press. I'm presuming you could get these books from Amazon. You can get them from
Bookshop.
The websites.
Right. Bottom Dog website, WVU.
Barnes and Noble. All of the usual.
Yeah, so if you like Larry's work,
my website too. You can order through my website to those places too.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, so if you like Larry's work, be sure and order a copy of Labor Days, Labor Nights, or a copy Working Off in Labor County. That would be great. I love the mythic quality of the whole business. It's delicious. Rusty Barnes says, awesome, nothing like good sense of humor. And
he's a great guy. He's a great writer.
He is. I'm so pleased that Rusty watches the show. Did you read Night Train back in the day, Larry?
Yes.
Isn't that that's just such a good thing?
Yeah, absolutely. No. Yeah, highly recommended.
All right. So, well, thanks so much for coming on and reading. So next week, everybody, we've got Megan. It's kind of a little special occasion. She is our first. Megan Schreiber-Carter is our first person ever. She's celebrating a new book coming out. She's our first person ever to be on WANA Live twice.
Yes, it's a special occasion.
So please tune in next Thursday at 8:00. And good night, everybody, from the everybody here at WANA Live.
Yeah. Good night, everyone. Thanks again, Larry. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, Larry.